This video is brought to you by SoccerPro.com. Be sure to visit SoccerPro.com for all the latest soccer gear at everyday low prices with no membership fees. Don't forget to use coupon code SR4U at checkout for $10 off a $75 purchase, plus free shipping within the US. Hey guys, Josh from SoccerReviewsForYou.com bringing you a comparison video between all three versions of the Nike Mercurial Vapor 8. If you're not familiar with what I'm talking about, Nike has released 5 colorways as of right now for the Nike Mercurial Vapor 8, and there's been 3 variations on the upper, which is highly unusual. If we look back at the Vapor VIII, which was the previous model of the Vapor, we saw no changes physically to the shoe other than colors from the original launch colorway to the very last colorway. So to see that we've had 3 variations on the exact same shoe in the same model run with only 5 colorways is highly unusual, and a lot of people are confused, especially ones that bought probably the first colorway and then the second one was released and then they bought the second one and then now this third ACC upper is released. People are kind of confused, a little bit frustrated, and I'm kind of going to clear up what the differences, the exact differences between all 3 versions are in this particular video. Here to the left, starting at the left, I have the synthetic suede version, which was the original release. I have the faux leather version, which was the second variation. And then, of course, I have the ACC all conditions control version, which was just recently released in this last week or so. But as far as the differences between them in terms of feel, it's very, very similar. If you bought any 3 of these shoes, you're definitely getting your money's worth in terms of getting that feel of the Nike Mercurial Vapor 8. The upper is exactly the same in terms of material of the upper, is exactly the same on all 3 of these shoes. They're all Teijin synthetic. The finish does vary on all 3 of them, but the actual material of the upper is still that Teijin synthetic, very thin, nice and soft, and like I said, you're going to get that overall feel or the overall experience of the Nike Mercurial Vapor 8, regardless of what 3 versions you have. But just to talk about all 3 of these, the fit is also going to be exactly the same on all of them, so keep that in mind. The first version here I have is the synthetic suede version, which a lot of you guys are probably very familiar with by now. Features this very fine synthetic suede finish on there, which was somewhat prone to scuffing, but provided a really nice soft, almost leather-like touch on the ball. Not in terms of the amount of cushion, but in terms of just the finish on the upper. Feels reminiscent of a natural leather upper, which I thought was really good. It didn't provide too much grip on the ball, and the ball seemed to glide really nicely against your foot, whether you were pushing or pulling the ball while it was in contact with the upper. Really nice upper. I'm a big fan of this, and like I said, it's between this one and the faux leather version, there's not a huge difference in terms of feel. It's really the ACC one that has probably the most difference in terms of variation of feel between the 2 original launch colorways. The middle one I have here is the faux leather version, which we saw originally from the Clash collection like you see in front of me. This was also released on the Seaweed Volt colorway, if you guys are familiar with that one. But this is a faux leather finish. A lot of people were confused. It's not actually leather. It's still that Teijin synthetic. They just put that faux leather finish on there. Again, it gives the shoe kind of a unique look to it, and like I said, the overall touch on the ball, very, very similar to the suede version, and in that it has somewhat of a very similar finish to a natural leather upper, so it seems to glide on your foot really easily. You're not going to have any issues with the ball sticking to your feet like you can have with a lot of kind of more sticky synthetic finishes, and that's definitely not the case on these 2 releases from Nike. You're going to have that nice thin touch on the ball, and the ball's going to glide on and off your foot really nicely, making it a great shoe for dribbling, at least in terms of feel. As far as the ACC version, this is where you're going to have the biggest variation. You have an upper, I'll kind of bring it a little bit closer, that kind of feels like a combination between both of these shoes. So it feels somewhat soft like suede, but it doesn't have that kind of soft texturing to it. It has that texturing more of the leather. It's really difficult to describe, and it has almost like this very dense sponge texturing to it. If you guys want to check out the high quality pictures, I have really close-up pictures on the review page on my website. You guys can check that out if that does interest you. But like I said, you also have the ACC all conditions control upper, which is not actually coating on the shoe. It's something that's in the dye of the shoe. It's actually in the makeup of the synthetic leather itself. So this is basically a wet control element from Nike, where the idea is that the ball is going to have the same amount of friction in wet conditions against your foot as it would in dry conditions, which is supposed to allow for better control in wet conditions. Again, I tried it out. It works to an extent. It's not a super noticeable difference. But in terms of synthetics, a lot of these thin synthetics can be tricky in wet weather, especially with these more slick finishes that you have on there. But with this one, there definitely is somewhat of a noticeable difference in terms of not having the ball kind of slide off of your foot when it is wet. But still keep in mind, the thinner synthetics are probably the more difficult ones to use in wet weather, rather than just using a natural leather upper. That's kind of what I found from these shoes. But if you are playing in wet weather most often, the ACC version is probably the one that you want. It's just going to provide the best grip on the ball in wet conditions. You're also going to notice that there is a kind of silicone ring running around the inside of the forefoot, all the way around the toe box, and then running to about the same side on the outside of the forefoot. And that is there in place mainly for durability reasons. Some people were having issues with the uppers prematurely separating from the sole plates, and reasons for that are unknown. I personally had no issues with any of the pairs that I brought in. I brought in every single colorway and worn every single colorway and have not had a single issue with a rip at all. But I know a lot of people were having issues, mainly related to wearing these shoes on artificial grass, which I strongly do not recommend doing. That is definitely going to make the life of your shoes a lot shorter than it normally would be if you were playing on natural grass. Also keep in mind, this is not an ideal shoe due to the stud pattern to be wearing on hard surfaces. You really want to be wearing these on natural grass to a firm or softer ground where the studs really can dig into the ground. Otherwise, you're going to have some issues with discomfort, and you're going to have some issues with durability if the ground is just too hard. But other than that, guys, that is kind of the comparison between all three of the upper variations on the Vapor 8. Other than that, like I said, the fit's exactly the same, and the sole plate and stud pattern is identical on all three of these shoes as well. I'll just show that to you right away. Also keep in mind the weight's going to be identical on all three of these shoes as well. So not a big variation in that sense. But other than that, guys, hopefully you guys are a little bit clearer now on which upper you are probably looking for, or how the uppers compare to each other. So hopefully you guys can make a more educated decision if you are interested in purchasing one of these pairs, because you can find these older colorways perhaps for a little bit cheaper than the current ACC versions. But like I said, if you're looking for a Vapor 8, you're going to be happy with the feel of all three of these versions. The variation is not huge, but like I said, if you're going to be playing on wet weather, most likely it is better to pick the ACC version over the other two. But other than that, guys, if you guys are interested in the full reviews for all three of these shoes, there will be links in the description to the review pages on my website. The ACC review is not up yet, but will be up in the next couple of weeks or so. So keep checking back if you are interested in that. You're also going to find on those review pages the high quality pictures of these shoes, as well as buy it now links, including exclusive coupon codes for SR4U fans to get you guys some additional discounts if you are interested in purchasing a pair of these shoes. Other than that, guys, if you have any questions, go ahead and leave one down below. If you have any questions not related to the video, go ahead and leave a comment on my Facebook page. There will be a link in the description of that as well. Make sure you guys leave a like on the video. It really does help me out. And as always, guys, thanks for watching.